Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is Ainin Sofiya binti Karim. I'm a student at UiTM Alor Gajah Melaka, and I'm a part CXVII Panchromatic team. So today I want to show my best artwork for this semester. So let's go. Okay, for the first picture is called dot and line. For the dot, I use my setting for ISO 100, and for the shutter speed 1600. For the aperture I use 2.8, and for the line ISO 100, and for the shutter speed is 400, and for the aperture is 2.8. Next, pattern and frame. Pattern, ISO I use for head 800, and for the shutter speed I use 640, and for the aperture I use 3.5. For the frame I use ISO for 100, and for the shutter speed 640, and for the aperture I use 2.8. And next is rule of third. My subject is bird, and I'm using ISO for 125, and for the shutter speed 2000, and aperture I use 2.8. Next, shape. My subject is car, and ISO I use 100. For the shutter speed I use 1250, and for aperture 3.5. For the bird eye view, my subject is a human. For the ISO I use 100, and for the shutter speed I use 800, and for the aperture I use 2.8. So next is warm eyes view. I'm using also a human subject. For the ISO I use 1000. For shutter speed I use 500, and for the aperture I use 3.5. Next is natural light. Natural light also I use, my subject is a human. For the ISO I use 100. For the shutter speed I use 1600, and for the aperture I use 2.8. Next is artificial light. My subject is watch. I'm using ISO for 800, and for shutter speed 100, aperture 2.8. I'm using technique mirror to look more interesting. So next is foreground, midground, and background. For the ISO I use 100, shutter speed 640, and for the aperture I use 5. So next, last but not least, motion. For the ISO I use 100, and shutter speed I use 20 seconds, and aperture 22. For this picture I really like it because I never used this technique, the motion technique, and it looks so interesting, and I really like it. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. See you next time. Assalamualaikum. Bye.